This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
ECR Minerals have announced promising results from gold recovery test work at their Blue Mountain project in Queensland, with key findings including a 91.7 gold recovery rate from a single-stage gravity recoverable gold test work, suggesting that the ore is suitable for gravity concentration using a batch centrifugal concentrator. Well, joining us today is Mike Whitlow, the Managing Director of ECR, and Nick Tulloch, the Chairman of ECR. Thank you both for joining us. First of all, Nick, let's get your comments on this. But I mean, from my point of view, looking at the 91.7% gold recovery rate, that would be in a sort of a spiral sort of setup, would it? That sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, all under gravity. I mean, it's hard not to be pretty excited about this. We're both naturally fairly conservative and fairly cautious in what we say. But I guess the fact that you're talking to both of us today, this is quite a different announcement to what we've put out in the past. And I think for me, the big difference is this is backed by an independent report, which we commissioned on the back of what we thought were pretty exciting results back in the summer when we first started looking at Blue Mountain. So we first started looking at Blue Mountain this year. But what we've got from Gekko is an endorsement and actually perhaps an acceleration of where we thought we were previously. And you said it yourself, I mean, the gold recovery is pretty exciting.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, it's different from what you normally talk about. We're normally talking about sort of getting drills turning at ECR's projects to build up a resource or indeed make a discovery. But this is, of course, looking at the recoverable gold from test work and drilling that's already been done. So are we getting one step ahead of ourselves here? I mean, you can recover gold, but do you have any?
Well, we certainly have gold. We're very confident on that. I mean, I guess the big question is it commercial? But you're right. And the other distinction is this is an alluvial resource. So what we're dealing with is gold at surface or very near surface. I mean, you talk about gold mines that are going sort of many hundreds of meters into the ground. We are quite literally trenching at the surface. So it is cost effective. I mean, to an extent, it's visible. But what we're seeing from the results through the independent report, through Gekko's report, is that we are recovering far more than the naked eye can see, or in other words, more than perhaps was recovered by some of the first people who started prospecting in the area.
Okay, well, that's an interesting point. I wonder if, Mike, you want to have some comments on that. Of course, the alluvial gold, so that's gold at surface. I did notice that the concentrate, this is in the RNS, the concentrated grade was 22,000 grams per ton gold. That works up at sort of, I mean, that's significant. It's more than significant. That's never seen before.
I mean, the amount of gold that came out of this result was way ahead of where we expected it to be. This independent report that was carried out by Gekko, I mean, they're a global leader, is incredible. I think the point to focus on here, and we can race ahead of ourselves, we're absolutely thrilled with this announcement, is just how much gold we can recover. And at 92% of the gold is, reacting positively with this, centrifugal gravity sort of technology. It's really, really encouraging. This is, it's advanced technology to where the historical producers were many, many moons ago. But this is, used in practice on a regular basis around the world, and we're absolutely over the moon with these results. They're breathtaking in many respects. We, of course, will continue to analyze this data. You may be aware from the announcement we put out yesterday that we've got a new geologist joining the company as well, in Mike Parker, an ex-First Quantum geologist, run a lot of projects from seed to sapling to tree. He knows the industry inside out. He's involved with First Quantum through their developmental years, and we're thrilled to have him as part of the team here. We really are broadening our horizons, and this has got all the potential hallmarks of a commercial project. Like I say, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but Nick, give us a fair old introduction there. We don't often both come in to these interviews collectively unless there's good reason, and we think we're there.
Right. Okay. Well, let's just explore a little bit sort of what perhaps this all means. I understand, of course, it's amenable to perhaps gravity-fed recoveries there, and you have said in the RNS that it could mean a small-scale production plant could be established by 2025. But when we talk about that sort of grade that went through at 22,000 grams per ton, so I mean, how does this sort of fit into what is coming out of the ground and potential resource that may be there, and then your sort of understanding of what could be there and its commercial viability?
Now, look, I think what the old timers were seeing was sub 1 gram a gold operations. And I think if we can substantially improve on that, we're going, as Nick said earlier, 2-3 meters down, 4 meters down. We're hitting sort of bedrock. We're washing gold. We're seeing it visibly. But the key takeaway here is for every, piece of, every gram of gold that you're seeing in your hand, there's another 5, 10 or more, 20 grams being lost. This is a very sort of fine, flowery gold. The old timers wouldn't have been aware that it was there. This isn't a new phenomenon. And it was our suspicion when we originally commissioned this report that there was a lot more gold present than we were actually seeing. We were happy with what we were seeing. What we were seeing probably would have been able to take us into a potential commercial operation. I think these results, and as I say, we've got to do a little bit more analysis and see what those numbers look like when we spread them out. So, don't hold our hands too close to the fire just yet. The report literally just landed, but it's clearly demonstrating to us that not only is the gold responding particularly well with this technology, even if you were to leach the tails, there was still considerable gold at 13 grams a ton in the leached material as well. We're looking at, keeping things as straight and forward as possible in order to develop this into a producer. And we'll use this, information as part of our next sort of steps and plans for this project. But it's incredible news, Mark.
Right, good. Well, you've said it yourself, the results are considered outstanding, and you mentioned there with the potential for modern technology to unlock value from historical gold fields. So you're effectively saying that in the past, the technology wasn't there, or indeed the old timers, they couldn't see it anymore. They couldn't see the obvious gold. So now what you've proven here is you can effectively, I don't know, what's it like? Drill it, scoop it up, put it through. What would the process perhaps look like? Are we too early?
No, I mean, we went out there. Sorry, Nick. I mean, I'll.
No, you go.
Yeah, I mean, we the gold has already been proven and discovered prior to us acquiring the asset. It's a case of seeing how broad this resource may well be. Could be much larger than we anticipated. But really, we went to Blue Mountain earlier this year. We cut some trenches. I mean, within the report, we've included some of the barren material that we incorporated as well. So, I think we could all get a bit carried away with 22,000 gram a ton equivalent, but, we're looking at things like, 90 grams a ton. It's an incredible amount of gold coming out of the ground. We did process the barren rock as well and material. And I mean, we will continue with further trenching, look to expand on that project. I suppose what we would be looking at in the very near future is how we develop this and get a operation on site in 2025 and start producing gold. It's too early for us to race ahead, but these results are just way better than we expected, Mark.
Way better than you expected. Okay, and at the minute it's coming out the ground through trenching effectively. So you're basically digging trenches, and that's what you've been putting through this test work.
Yeah. I was joking with the guys the other day. It's like sort of pounding for gold on an industrial scale.
Right.
It's a gravity-fed operation. And Mike is right. I mean, we're sort of talking over each other. We're excited about this. We had a good feeling about it. Obviously we did. We wouldn't have commissioned the report, but some of the numbers in the report. When we first got it, we're trying to sort of work out how we actually present these numbers because they're almost so big. It's hard to put them in context. But what we think we've got is the beginning of a very, very interesting investigation that could very well end in a production plant in within the next 12 months.
So the beginning of an investigation. So without getting too far ahead, as Mike has said a couple of times, but how would you sort of structure that investigation here? I would assume perhaps you said more analysis, so I assume more trenching and more analysis of this gravity? And then would that lead
to be honest, I think what we've got to do is we've got to look at this data and model it. I don't think we have to keep going back and doing the work that we've already, you don't have to sort of keep going back to the well to make sure that the water's there. It's just a case of how big a bucket do we need at this point? And it really is a case of looking now to see what sort of model would work utilizing the information and data that we've received. I think that the purpose of this announcement, and again, I just want to focus people's attention, is a huge amount of gold is being recovered that was being missed, both from our operation, which was way more advanced than perhaps some of the old timers in the pilot plant that we run. If we're able to recover 5-fold, 10-fold, or 20-fold amounts of gold from our ground, then there's the potential for us to really, cast the net a fair bit wider and look at what other opportunities are in and around the project. We've got great support from the landowner, and we're super excited about where we're going to go with this next.
Okay, I'm just thinking as a final step, perhaps can contextualize it so investors can understand both the size, the scale, and really the economic viability of it.
I mean, I think in terms of economics, that's the next phase. We know the gold is there. We know there's a recovery method that works, and we know we can recover more than has been recovered in the past. I like Mike's analogy earlier. How big a bucket do we need? And this is about working out what do we need to spend. And actually, the numbers aren't going to be that much. What do we need to spend in order to get the gold out of the ground commercially, and start creating an operation? So that's the process that goes on from here on in. We can dig more trenches, we can get more results analysed, but it's more now about understanding what the commercial opportunity is, having proven things. And going back to where we started, this announcement for me marks a slightly different process that ECR has taken in the past. This is backed up by someone else's words. And you saw in the announcement, we repeated the executive summary, very deliberately so, because it's almost, don't take our word for it. This is what the expert says. As Mike points out, these guys are world leaders. This is not someone we just found in Brisbane to see if they would happily look at our samples. This is a very considered process, and that's how it's going to be. It's going to be very considered and very cautious as we go through to what we think is possibly maybe one of ECR's better days for quite some time.
Yeah, good. So potentially getting into gold production next year, or is it too early for me to make that assumption?
That should be the target. I mean, look, we're not out at the shops ordering all the equipment just yet. We're not out hiring just yet. We're examining what we need, who we'd need, and when we need it, and we're making sure that we've got the data and the gold in the ground to back that up. So that's the next part of the process. But as I say, what we've got today, the numbers are almost off the chart and almost so big it's quite difficult to talk about it with a straight face.
Well, thank you both very much for your time, Mike Whitler, the MD, and Nick Tulloch, the Chairman of ECR Minerals.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like, or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.